Welcome to another Indie Dev Showcase, highlighting the many indie games we play here on the channel. If you'd like to submit a game for a future video, please reach out. But otherwise, let's begin. We're beginning this week's showcase with Mech Shuffle. Now, we checked out this game a few times in early access, but was officially released into 1.0 as of 2025. And what we have here is a deck-building mech roguelike that plays very differently from a lot of the other games that we've checked out. The concept here is that all your abilities and actions are in the form of cards. When you play a card, it will put a different kind of token on your side of the board. The token can be anything from doing damage, dodging, blocking, reducing or adding heat, etc., etc. Your job is to hit the enemy so that basically any defensive tokens they play are either overwhelmed or don't correspond to your attack. So red will block red, green will block green, and you get that picture. So it becomes this kind of back and forth between both you and the opponent in terms of what cards you can play on each turn. If everyone plays all their attack cards on the same turn, it means that on the next turn you won't have anything to use for an attack. So there's definitely some strategy, or more involved strategy in this one, with when to defend, when to overwhelm, and of course when you beat a fight, you unlock new cards, and the whole song and dance continues. I enjoy what I was seeing with this one. It is a bit on the drier side compared to some of the other deck builders. If you're hoping for lots of explosions and effects as you're playing cards, this is not going to be that game. But still a really well-designed take on the deck building roguelike. So this one would be for the deck builder fans looking for a different and more slower paced take on the formula. And if you are, I would definitely recommend you check this one out. And now we go to Karate Survivor. This is a kung fu take on the Bullet Heaven formula, where you must survive waves and waves of hired goons that are trying to knock you out. And to do that, you are going to have to, well, do a lot of punching and kicking to get through it. The basics of the Bullet Heaven formula are on full display. You'll beat up enemies, you'll collect experience. When you get enough resources, you'll level up, and then you'll choose a different upgrade. Where the game does things a little bit differently is that your different attacks correspond to different colors. So when you put colors of the same type together, they combo off of each other, adding additional effects and properties to it. You can also use objects in the environment for increased damage, and there's a little bit more involved here with kind of picking and choosing what moves you want to put onto your highlight reel at the bottom. With that said, it did still have that same issue that it felt very slow to start playing. When you only have one or two moves, you're just repeating those same one or two moves over again and again. And until you kind of build up your entire reel, it doesn't feel all that exciting or interesting to do. Still, I do like the different theme and aesthetic that they went for in it. The footage you're seeing is taken from, I think, right when the game was first released, and I know that they have updated it since then. So if you are a Bullet Heaven fan, looking, for punching and kicking heaven, then I would give this one a try. And now we go to it. Neva. This is the sequel to Grease, which was a very beautiful looking and interesting puzzle platformer. For this one, we have a bit more action, but not all that much. We are in a world that is dying due to a strange corruption, and it's up to a woman and the wolf that she raises from being a cub to try and save the world. The game is played out over a number of seasons, going from you kind of just learning to raise the cub to them becoming a full adult and helping you in combat. There are a few kind of hidden collectibles off the beaten path here and there, but much like with Grease, this is a game that's more about the experience, and the game is just gorgeous in terms of how it looks and the animations. With each season having its own different coloring and theme to it, also adds to it. Now, if you're hoping for more mechanic depth, Neva doesn't quite go that far, and it does feel a little bit more simplified or streamlined compared to Grease. You have just some general platforming tech and combat. You're not going to be getting access to like different moves or even kind of evolving the jump tech as much in this one as we saw in Grease. This is again more about the experience above everything else. If you did enjoy Grease and looking for another beautiful platformer to play, I would definitely give this one a try. But if you're hoping for a little bit more depth to go with the colors, you may be left a little bit disappointed. And now we go to Anomaly Collapse. This is a tactical RPG roguelite. You play some characters who are trapped in a city that is being attacked by mutants and other strange creatures. And of course, there is a time loop involved. And in order to solve this mystery, we must get into a lot of battles and of course collect enough gear needed to survive. Our gameplay here is that positioning matters greatly. You can get flanking attacks on enemies if characters kind of surround them, and for each turn, characters will build up kind of AP or their energy that they can use for attacks, as well as they have their own separate movement pool as well, allowing you to move around, try to get into flank position, or get away from attacks. And yes, this is one of those games where enemies will kind of do a massive AoE attack and you'll need to get your characters off those danger tiles if you want to avoid any damage. As you play through, you will unlock additional artifacts that can change character stats, give them new abilities that they can use on top of their base ones. And there is meta progression. You'll be able to unlock additional characters you can start with, as well as permanent upgrades based on like how far you get or how much you use specific characters. I really do like the systems here. Now, it can be a bit tricky when you first start playing. You really don't have a lot of easy means of dealing with lots of like minor enemies or really heavy ones at the start. And if you take too long in combat, enemies can become more dangerous, they'll become more active, or they'll do stronger attacks. So there's definitely a benefit to going for more like alpha strike or heavy attack strategies with it. With that said, it's still a very well suited take on the kind of strategy RPG or kind of like tactical formula. So if you are a fan of this style of combat, I would definitely give this one a try, and I think that there's definitely a hidden gem here for fans of the genre. And now we switch over to Feed the Deep. This is an undersea horror kind of action-adventure game. Instead of this being like a roguelike or your typical action, the game is divided into different periods or stages. Each stage basically ratchets up the difficulty and adds additional mechanics for you to do, all while kept within the same theme. That one of the remaining cities that is left on the planet must, well, feed the deep every so often in order to appease it and keep their city alive. And you play as the quote-unquote lucky person who's going down there to do so. Each stage is procedurally generated, but the goal remains the same. You must reach the deep with the required offering in order to, well, feed it and move on to the next stage. Your progression here is that you have a limited amount of oxygen as well as your ability to carry and move things around. So you'll be collecting different resources you can then take back to your starting area, not only to resupply yourself with oxygen, but to unlock upgrades that will allow you to carry more, move faster, and hopefully not die in any number of ways. It can be a little bit disorienting to play this one. Light is going to be your enemy, or I should say visibility, as there's plenty of sandstorms and of course just no light that's going to get in the way of you trying to find where you're supposed to go. Because the levels are procedurally generated, it also makes it even that much harder to figure out where the deep is and where your important items are. Still, it's a really great concept as kind of using roguelike elements, but still being more of a focused experience. I don't know if anything else has been added to the game since we checked it out, but if you aren't afraid of the dark, underwater, and of course the deep, I would give this one a play. And for the last game of our showcase this week, we go to a Phantom Spark. This is a Wipeout-inspired anti-gravity racer. It is very far in the future, and in order to kind of fulfill your destiny, you must race phantoms, aka ghosts, on very beautiful and very stylized tracks, and get to the end without, of course, crashing in any number of ways. If you've played any of the kind of like F-Zero, again, Wipeout style of anti-gravity racers, the basics should be very familiar to you. You'll need to make sure to take those turns right, not crash into walls like I do, and of course keep your momentum as you get from point A to point B. The challenge is that once you get past the initial stages, you'll be challenged to take on different ghosts. The ghost, it reminds me a little bit of an older game that we played whose name I think was Action Hank, that I played a long time ago, in that the ghosts are programmed around basically different levels of play. So like the bronze tier ghost is not going to take the perfect line each and every way. The gold tier ghost is going to be kind of your nemesis as you get down these tracks. The more of the ghosts that you beat, the more you unlock, more progression, and each one of the worlds has different kind of track challenges and that kind of stuff. If you are not a racing fan, this is not going to be one of those games that's going to change your mind. And as someone who is terrible at these games, it definitely proved to be a little bit much for me. However, I know there are a lot of racing fans here on the channel. If you somehow missed this one, and if anything that I said sounds interesting to you, then definitely give this one a play, and I think you're going to enjoy it. And with that, another showcase comes to an end. Let me know what you think about these games down below. If you let me take your game for a future stream and showcase, please get in touch. And with that, we'll be doing more streams and coverage of indie games real soon on the channel, and I will see everyone next time. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and if you're interested in more in my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.